Hello, I'm Jonathan M0JSX.
And I'm Gary M0TIG, and that's not my surname.
Are you sure?
No.
Okay.
I thought I'd add that in there because I saw that as one of your comments on your live yesterday.
Thanks, Gary.
It's all right. It's no worries.
And welcome to the very first ML&S podcast. It's a new format that we're going to try. We're not quite sure how it's going to go, but essentially every week we're going to sit down, have an informal chat about all things amateur radio, and it's going to start right now. So first things we're going to do is going to have a look over some highlights of news items that we're pulling in from a few sources. So Gary, what's first up?
Right, well, I think you mentioned SSTV. There was some activity with SSTV.
Ah, yes. So the International Space Station this coming week is going to be doing some SSTV transmissions from the Russian segment on board. It's from the 28th of January between 12:10 UTC and 17:15 UTC. That's very precise timings. And also on the 29th between essentially 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the evening on 145.800 using the SSTV mode PD 120. I've never done
all these things are.
No, I've never done SSTV, Gary. I've got an iPad app. I have got an iPad app, and I remember I was in the field one afternoon at a contest site. I had the ATAS on. I was shooting through 20 meters, and I heard these funny noises, and I recognised that as being that's SSTV. So I got my iPad and sort of held it next to my speaker, and I got some pictures. I've no idea how it works.
Well, I think James is the one to ask on that one. He loves a bit of that, and what can I say?
I can do FTA. I can do PSK 31. I can do RITI. I've never done SSTV properly.
Well, what happens if they're sort of running a bit late? What if they're caught in traffic? Do they all these precise timings?
I would be very worried if the ISS is running late in traffic.
Well, it's snowing outside. Maybe does that affect it? Do you reckon?
I don't know, but they're travelling at 17,500 miles an hour up there, Carrier. If they're late, I don't know what they're late for.
No, neither do I. Right, okay. So we've also got on the little running list here.
Yeah.
Get on the air for care. Now,
yes.
I understand this is a construction competition of some.
Yeah.
Form.
You remember the RSGB in conjunction with the NHS back in the very start of the first lockdown launched this Get on the Air to Care campaign, which essentially was all about getting on the air to keep in touch with radio hams who may not be able to go out if they're shooting or whatever. So it's an idea about keeping in touch with them and keeping the hobby active. As a spin-off from that, the RSGB have launched the Get on the Air to Care construction competition.
Okay.
The deadline is the 1st of February. You are supposed to send a short description of your project to gm.dept@rsgb.org.uk, including a few photographs and a video, if possible, on any related circuit diagrams. I don't think there's any particular. I don't think there's any particular sort of category of what it has to be. It could be hardware or software, but that's their current. That's the RSGB's current competition.
Well, that sounds like fun. If I'd known about that, I'd like to have had a go at that.
Well, you still can. There's still time.
I know, but I've got to go some, haven't I?
Well, you've got a week or so.
I'll tell you what, I've still got downstairs. Do you remember the kits that that lady donated in? Do you remember she brought into the store? It was the 80 meter receiver kit or transceiver kit.
I do remember. Yes,
I've still got that, and I don't know really what to do with it. I don't know whether to. It's so pristine in there. I don't know whether to actually build it, and everyone says I should.
Well, I think this could be a build-a-thon.
What, build-a-thon for no, it's really old.
Yeah, a build-a-thon with Gary where you've got to get your own parts.
Really? Do you reckon you can still get some of those parts?
I've no idea.
No, I don't know. They're ginormous resistors. It's really fantastic.
Oh, you should totally do it.
You don't need any tweezers like you do these days. It's like proper in there. But yeah, maybe I'll build it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you should. Well, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, well, if I'd known about the thingy, I would have got involved in that. I would have liked to have done that.
I think this isn't the first one I think this might be the second one they've done. I think they did one back in sort of the autumn,
Right.
so it wouldn't surprise me if they do another one quite soon. And obviously, most amateur radio clubs hold a construction competition at some point during the year as well. So there's always opportunities.
So, I mean, I think, obviously I've got on the running list here talking about RSG membership, because it's always nice to get involved with a lot of these big organisations where you possibly can, or at least organisations involved in ham radio, put a little bit back. Is it sort of something that's only available for members, or is it sort of something that anyone can take part in, or...?
I don't know is the honest answer on that, Harry, but I would suspect as part of it, they'd like you to be an RSGB member. And I have to say, Radcom's a pretty good magazine. There are some good adverts in it. The one just on the inside page is particularly good. We like that one. And the one on the back cover, that's good. And the middle pages, they're really good.
Yeah. Make sure you read those, because you actually pay our wages.
Yes. Yes,
yeah,
please.
It's brilliant. Well, so I mean, obviously, it's easy enough to become an RSGB member. I let mine sort of lapse a long time ago, and you and I were talking in the week actually about how easy it would be to rejoin, and they now do like little monthly options and stuff. And it's not particularly obvious, is it, in the form?
It's not obvious, but you can do. So you can sign up for the RSGB on a monthly direct debit. The confusion is when you click through onto the join membership page, it looks like it is an annual subscription.
Yeah.
But then when you scroll down the page a bit, you can select how often you pay your direct debit. You can either pay that monthly, quarterly, or annually. So you can easily pay it monthly. I pay mine monthly through direct debit. I barely even notice it's gone out, to be honest with you.
What, really?
It's so little per month. I don't even see it go out.
You wait till you get a mortgage.
That's happening very soon.
Everything hurts then. So we got. What about training? I mean, this is one of the questions that comes up on my Gaz Labs feed thing quite a lot. Is, are they going to continue with the online exams? Now, my personal thoughts are I think they've sort of seen the value of this, and one hopes that they would actually continue to do it. But whether, what do you think? Do you think that they'll continue this? Do you think it'll be something that's always available? Because obviously, people are also asking us at work about the in-class sort of stuff. When will they be back, and all that sort of stuff?
I know. It's a good question. I mean, obviously, the RSGB's exam department would be the people to really ask.
Yeah.
As to what their long-term plan is. I think at the moment, obviously, while we're still living under all the restrictions we are, it's good that we are able to get new hams in, and in fact, you're still able to upgrade your license class. The fact they're now doing all 3 levels remotely. I think going forward there will be a certain school of thought to say continue with that. I think there will be some people who would prefer to do their exam in more like an exam room setting. And I think that from a logistics point of view, I think that a sort of an in-person exam session is possibly easy to organise maybe. So I don't know. I think there's possibly exists the scenario where both are offered going forward, both in person and remotely invigilated exams.
Well, I hope they keep it on, because I think it's done so much for people that didn't maybe have the time, or didn't think they had the sort of time to go and do a online go to a classroom and stuff like that. I think it's actually sort of net a few more sort of people sort of coming into the hobby, that because it's just there and it's easy to do. I say easy to do. I mean it's easy to take part in, because you can do it from the comfort of your own home. If the missus goes out for a little while and you've got like a couple of hours, you can actually just get it done. And they've been fairly flexible, and I know for a fact they've had huge interest in it. So hopefully be good. But anyway.
Well, absolutely. I'm sure that they will continue with it in some way, shape or form, because I think it's also, if you live miles away from your nearest amateur radio club, if you're up in the Highlands of Scotland, or live somewhere very remotely, but you've got an internet connection, then obviously that opens up that possibility for you to get your license, where otherwise that might
fits in with everyone's sort of busy schedules as well, and not everyone's got time to do it. Because let's face facts. I mean, Essex Ham now have got such an amazing reputation, and I know a couple of them from up there, and they're absolutely fabulous, and they don't have to put a lot of effort into that without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. So Essex Ham are the gold standard, I think, in terms of sort of online foundation training. Yeah. There's now also the online amateur radio community, the OARC, who are doing training courses for all 3 levels. So if you've done your foundation, you want to upgrade, have a look at those for training material.
I might take part in one.
Well, you've got your full, Gary. You're going to do your intermediate again.
I might.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what, I've done some of those online things, and there's so much on there. I mean, Richard's doing his advanced, isn't he, today, I think?
He is. At the time when we recorded this, he is doing his today.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Is it going to jinx it?
I wouldn't have thought so.
Anyway, I wish him all the luck in everything. But he was asking me some of the questions, and I was actually head scratching because some of them are proper corkers.
He was asking me about classes of amplifier, and I'm going, it's been 5 years since I had to learn any of that.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit like the highway code, isn't it? How many times do you read that?
But that's a very good point.
So anyway, hopefully they'll keep everything going, and hopefully we'll get back to some remnant of normality soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apparently, I did see a little note in the what was it, in one of the papers? Was it Good Morning TV or something like that? The asparagus fortune teller says that everything will be back to somewhere near normal in June.
And we're basing this on asparagus.
Asparagus. Yeah, asparagus. That is not a joke. That is honestly, that was on TV. So it must be true.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with the word. I'm just going to go with. Anyway, Gary, what's next?
I don't know. But I'm just watching the record level just to make sure that me laughing like a blooming idiot is not sending this into the red. Anyway, so what's next on the little thingy? Yeah, so I did pencil in something about the new FCC restrictions, or reminding people that about how they use their radios in the US. I mean, obviously this, without sort of getting too sort of political or whatever, I think obviously this has been spurred on by recent happenings in the US. Do you think that'll rub off onto the UK? Do you think that'll sort of start that? Because what they're sort of saying is that they're just reminding people they shouldn't use them for anything illegal and sort of stuff like that. Do you think that the licence conditions in the UK will hot up a little bit? Do you think that might be a case?
I think that actually Ofcom is fairly on the ball in terms of the licensing restrictions anyway, and most hams actually know what they can and can't do on air. So I don't think.
And also, I don't think it's, for my humble opinion, I just don't think it's going to stop the hardened, law, the rule breaker he's not going to even bother reading it. This face facts. He's just going to, Anyway, but I think that one's pretty much touched on as much as we do.
As much as we want to touch on that one, that's that touched on.
Yeah, so, but just a little thing, what was I thinking? I was thinking about something about Ofcom. There's... I did see a little bit more about the EMF stuff, and I think the RSGB have now got their own online calculator for that, haven't they? Yeah. The field strength reading. So that one's sort of hopefully settling down a little bit as well.
Yeah. So I mean, I think one of those things. I think it's quite scary in the way that Ofcom have sort of gone about this.
I think it's a good thing. It
is a good thing. It is, and you should be aware of what your field strength is at the boundary property. You should certainly be aware of it. Whether you necessarily need to measure it is a different matter, or whether you do it, theoretically in workout using maths, what it is. But I think that a lot of people got very scared over it for no real reason other than it was worded quite strongly.
Yeah, that's right. Because I think the penalty was quite harsh, but I think that's not aimed at the amateur. I think it's aimed at maybe the broadcaster who's really ignoring it, and they're sending out sort of gigawatts or whatever they are.
And it's more to do with things like 5G as well, and in commercial radio spectrum users. That. Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, I mean, I've always sort of said to sort of, in my humble opinion, it's kind of like just if you have got a logbook, and I always recommend people keep some form of logbook, and that is, if you just put on there once a year that you've, with your particular antenna kit, the calculated figures, and then when you change it, do it again. If you change your antenna, just do it again. That's the only time you really need to do it, I think. And if you record it, that's all you can do, isn't it? Yeah. They've not given us any official guidelines or anything like that. And as yet, as I say, it's all just, it's all talk at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still proposals at the moment. It's nothing is coming to force.
Not to worry about it, but I thought I'd mention it.
Then
I've got down something more exciting.
Go on.
New products.
Oh, excellent, yes.
So what have we got that's coming up? I've got down here the ID51.
Well, ID52, I think you mean.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the ID52.
Yeah, so it was
Who's an idiot?
Who is?
Me.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't say that, Gary. Don't put yourself down like that. Well, we were sort of talking before we sort of started recording about sort of what we've been playing with, and I mentioned that, and in fact it's behind me, I mentioned that I was playing with the THD74, and how I think that radio is almost perfect.
All right.
Almost. I was talking to John at work yesterday about what I would consider to be the perfect handheld. And for me personally, the criteria are the near repeater functionality working in both a digital mode and analog, GPS inbuilt, and if possible APRS. And the THD74 comes close. Except it doesn't do that near repeater functionality in FM. Of course, the ID52 will do. So I think the ID52 is going to be a very, very popular radio with that.
I do as well. We've had so much in the way of interest for it. I think that's the trouble. Is I think ICOM are always the same, aren't they? They seem to announce their new product, whip everyone into a frenzy, and then they take like a year, 18 months to bring a product to fruition, which is
I can't think what product you're particularly referring to there, Gary.
What you mean, like the 705?
There you go.
Or the 7300, or
the 7610, or the 9700.
Yeah, well,
I see your point.
But the thing is, the ICOM, they keep doing it every single time, don't they? They seem to be, they just push the the sort of like the envelope all the time. They seem to be coming out with just such perfect products at times. The 7300 was just such a good, perfectly timed radio. The 7610, I think that one's a bit debatable, where that one positioned itself. But the 705 was desperately in sort of needed.
It was
market refresher.
So much so that you put your hand in your pocket and bought one.
I know.
I put my hand in my pocket and bought one.
It's just the headroom. I know that it's only 10 watts, and I know that it's not particularly special in any other way. I mean, it's got a good receiver on it, I'm told. Not that I know sort of very much, but for me, it's just got so much headroom. The fact that it's connectivity. You've got things like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. The fact that it now will do this crazy FT8 mode, which we'll talk about the firmware in a minute, and it will do this like node thing, so you don't need to worry about nodes and stuff like that for D-Star. It does D-Star. It just does so much in a really small package. Plus, if I want to, in the summertime, when we're allowed out again, I can just grab hold of it and whip it down the park and just throw a wire up and play a bit of radio if I want to. Not that that's very often these days, but yeah, it's just for the money. I think it was just such good value for money, and I think ICOM, they just nailed it every single time.
I think you're right, and I don't know whether you've done the new firmware. Moving on to the firmware for it,
no,
Gary. You haven't done. Okay, so I've done the new firmware on mine, the version 1.2, and the FT8 mode is nice. It does all the presets for you, so it sets up the mode, sets up the bandwidth correctly for FT8. So that's quite a handy feature. I don't think it's the quite game-changing feature that everybody thought it was going to be. But I tell you what is really nice with the new firmware is the scroll mode on the scope.
Oh yeah, you did show me that.
So that's really nice. So whereas if you had it in the fixed mode beforehand, every time you scrolled off the edge of the scope. You then had to hit your edge button in order to go to your next edge along, in order to pull where you are back into the middle of the scope. Now it will just automatically scroll onto the next. And that's really quite handy. It's really nice. And I'm so pleased that ICOM are also bringing that to the 9700 and the 7300 a little bit later. I think it's going to be next month they're going to do those for those radios. Because that's, particularly if you're a shortwave listener and you don't like that center mode, because I'm not a fan of the center mode. I much prefer the sort of the fixed mode type. I think that's a great feature.
Do you think, actually, in all fairness as well, I think we should probably mention the Ftd X10 from Yaesu?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, obviously you've had a little bit of a chance to play with that one. I've had a little bit of a chance to play with it. Everyone's asking the same sort of question. How does it compare to, say, the 7300? And how does it compare to the 7610? Well, there are a few obvious ones for me, and that is, number one, if with the 7300 it's got a display out, and I think it's got a lot more connectivity to it. Well, if you're trying to compare it to the 7610, obviously the 7610 is a complete step up in. It's got extra, receivers and all that sort of malarkey.
Yeah, I think with the Ftd X10, the fairest comparison is against the 7300.
The 73,
in fairness. I think there is absolutely no doubt and no competition to say that the Ftd X10 is a better receiver.
Yeah.
I think that Yaesu have thought long and hard about how to get the best value for money and sort of the best, and I dread using this phrase, bang for the buck, in the radio, because it is a very good receiver. You've essentially got one of the receivers out of an Ftd X101. You've got a larger screen than you get on the 7300, but it is smaller than that on a 101. You've got that display output. You've got the ability with the SU LAN 10 to do remote control. And the list goes on.
Yeah, well, I love it. I think it's really, really good. The thing is, I'm a big fan of the ICOM stuff, mainly because it's so good. But I'm also my first radio was a Yaesu, so I've kind of got that sort of undying bond to sort of Yaesu. I know it's really weird, isn't it? But brand loyalty is a real thing, So when Yaesu bring out sort of something like that, I just think, but it's quite nice. The thing is, it really has. I think the 7300 has come along and sort of set the posts. It's set the goalpost, and I think Yaesu have just come along, and I think they've just hit a home run with that. They really have.
I think they have. I think that the thing is, I think you've got to bear in mind, because I was thinking about this, because obviously I bought a 7300 a couple of years ago, and I was thinking about whether I would actually get rid of my 7300 in order to buy an Ftd X10. And I've decided against it for one reason, is that although the Ftd X10 is brilliant, it doesn't make the 7300 any less good.
I know that's a sign of a good radio in itself.
It is a sign of a good radio. And it's the thing that, it's like when Apple launched a new phone. Yeah. And you've got last year's model. Well, your phone is no worse than it was before they've launched the new one.
Yeah.
So that's it for me. Is that I think the 7300 is still a brilliant radio.
Yeah.
The Ftd X10, yes, has a better receiver and all of that. But if you've got a 7300 and you're perfectly happy with your 7300, that's great. If you want to upgrade to an Ftd X10, then obviously that's great as well. But I don't think you shouldn't feel like you're losing out. Put it that way.
No, I think there are a few things you can do to the 7300 which may be not possible with the Ftd X10, and that is the addition of things like SDR play and things like that. I don't think that's quite as easy, if at all possible. So I don't know if there's actually any IF out on the DX10. Maybe I should investigate that one next week, but would be interesting to sort of know. But yeah, other than that, I just think, I think they've done a good job of that. But anyway, there you go. So going back to the 705, we've got the now infamous Zed Mounts.
Yes, so we've got these new Zed Mounts in stock. Which you and I have been rocking on our 705 since before we started doing them.
I know they're really really good. They're brilliant, and I mean I kind of like mine. It's because I've got the tripod as well, which I really really like. It's really handy for all sorts of things. But I found, and it's slightly more stable, I think, in certain heights.
Yeah.
It depends on how tall you want to get the radio. But for me, this fits underneath the monitor, so I wanted something really low. So I saw it and I thought, right, I'm having that.
Yeah, and I saw yours on your 705.
And you thought, I'm having that.
I'm having
well.
that. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, mine sits on my desk over the other side of the room next to 7300, and it just looks excellent. I like the fact that you can sort of change the height. The tripod I liked, but it was sort of that fixed height, wasn't it? You couldn't change the height. Whereas obviously with the Zed Mount you can. So we now have those available from stock at the store. They're £17.95, which I think is actually quite a bargain for them.
Yeah, I think so, because somehow we've managed to get these at a reasonable price. I don't know how he's done that.
I think by buying quite a lot.
Oh right, okay. I daren't ask.
No, I don't know, but I think it's by
knowing
buying
Martin,
a lot.
he's probably he's gone to the supplier and probably emptied them.
Quite possibly. So we have got them for a very good price, which is why we can sell them for a very good price as well. Less than 20 quid for a stand, I think it's fantastic, And also when you consider that that's less than the proper ICOM desktop stand, the MBF 705.
Yeah.
And that's only got one height and just tips the radio back a little bit.
Well, I mean, I could say something slightly controversial now.
Go on.
Am I allowed to say something controversial?
If you're not Henry, we'll edit it out.
Really? Have I got to leave a gap like now? I think that the Icon plastic stand should have been in the box with the radio. Gap left so we can edit it out.
I think I agree. Actually, I think I agree.
Because I've seen all sorts of things done. I mean, I saw someone actually put like what looked like a doorstop underneath and wedge it up. I mean, when you get it, it sort of kind of flaps around the desk and it slides around.
It does.
Plus, you don't really want to put your £1,000 radio sitting on a hard sort of surface on a rock in the middle of a field or something.
But you see, Gary, that's why.
Yeah, go on.
You buy the backpack.
Oh, did you buy a backpack?
I got given a backpack for Christmas.
Oh,
I was bought a backpack. So.
Oh, someone loves you, didn't they?
Someone loves me. They got me a backpack for Christmas. I've not yet used it because it's been snowing. But
oh yeah, I'm itching to get out there. I'm going to build a snowman.
Yeah, I need to talk to you at some point about putting a mount on the side. That I need to talk to you about.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a bodged up cheapo mount. That was it was one of the I can't call them cheapo. The value for money mounts, the Nagoyas.
Yes.
That it was just the really small mobile one, and I took the screws out so that because you don't need them. When you push it over that sort of reinforced edge, you just give it a squeeze with a pair of water pump pliers, and it sort of bites onto it, and it doesn't go anywhere. The only bit you've got to do, the only technical bit that you've got to do, is you've got to find somewhere to put some stubs. So you've got to make the little quarter wave stubs just to make it. But I wouldn't recommend, by the way, I would hasten to add, that anyone walks around with this thing on their back, sort of talking at 5 watts near their head. I don't know if that brings up the Ofcom EMF calculations.
It does. But is that any different to walking around with a handheld next to your head at 5 watts?
Probably not, no, but I would imagine there's a little bit more gain coming from a mobile antenna.
That's true. Yeah, I suppose your ERP is going to be higher.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't like it. It'd be all right though to put your bag on a rock sort of somewhere and then use it like that. That'd be all right.
That would be.
I think.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
But you soon find out if you start warming up.
If you start warming up,
you know to stop.
The snow is melting.
Right. Okay. Now then, there's a product that we were going to bring up without mentioning it.
Yes, we've got a new accessory for the IC705, which is coming soon.
Yes, it's coming soon.
It's coming soon.
And it is really good.
It is brilliant. It's been made.
I want one.
Gary wants one. I want one.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to afford it though.
weirdly, I think Steve wants one, and he hasn't even got a 705.
What does he want it for?
I don't know. He just said he was looking at it the other day and thinking that's very well made, and I think he might buy a 705 just for the accessory.
He's weird, Steve. You're weird. Well, anyway, that is the end of my prompt list that we come up with.
Excellent. Well, I think that's possibly where we should leave it for today. If you've enjoyed this, well, thank you for watching and listening.
I've enjoyed it. It's been funny.
I've enjoyed it. It has been funny. We'll do another one of these next week. If you want to ask us any questions, that'd be good. Maybe I did think one thing we could do, Gary, with sort of this in mind, is if we get any questions during the week that are a little bit sort of out there and different.
Yeah,
we could write, even if they're not, if they're questions that we get asked quite common, we could sort of jot them down and then answer them in this sort of format next week.
Okay.
And maybe that would work as well.
I would make them easy questions though, because I don't want any hard ones.
Yes, no, absolutely. But that would be one thing we could do. So we're gonna try and make this a weekly thing. I think there might be an appearance of Martin at some point in the future.
He gets everywhere, doesn't he?
He does.
He loves a bit of it.
It's his baby, so he's allowed to.
Right.
So we'll put him in at some point. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this, thanks very much for watching and listening as well. This is it's a bit of a new experiment for us. It might take a little while to iron out, but yeah.
Well, it took a bit of ironing out to make this bit work, and I hope that we were trying to record everything and communicate with one another at the same time. That's not been quite so easy. I've learned things about OBS though. Anyway, yes. See you later.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Bye bye for now.
Bye.